What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, something interesting was brought to my attention as undefeated three-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, currently the WBO World Boxing Organization reigning welterweight world champion, who is widely considered by many to be the number one best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, in Terence Bud Crawford. Terence Crawford is 38 wins, no losses, no draws, 29 big wins by way of knockout, 34 years of age, 5'8" with a 72-inch arm reach. With that said, Terence Crawford has now parted ways with his longtime promoter, top-ranked CEO and promoter, legendary promoter Bob Arum, Top Rank and ESPN. Terence Crawford is now a network promotional free agent. This has been highly anticipated, as many people felt like Top Rank and Bob Arum was the reason that Terence Crawford we haven't seen Terence Crawford in the biggest fights that could be made. And Terence Crawford clearly feels that way, as well as Terence Crawford is now taking Top Rank Bob Arum and to court now, and they're citing that, and Terence Crawford is citing that they have been, neglected the fact that he wanted the big fights, and they have not held up their end of the bargain in making the biggest fights. Terence Crawford, in his last fight, November 20th of 2021, he took on two-time welterweight world champion superstar boxer who's a future Hall of Famer in Showtime Sean Porter. He won a 10th round stoppage victory over Sean Porter, dropping Sean Porter twice in the 10th round to get the victory. But that's been the biggest fight in Terence Crawford's career at 34 years of age, okay? Terence Crawford has been considered the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world since he beat Julius Indongo back in August of 2017, okay? We're in 2022. For the better part of 5 years, Terence Crawford has been considered the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Terence Crawford was seeking out a massive showdown with legendary A-Division iconic world champion superstar boxer from the Philippines, Manny Pacquiao, since it was being mentioned back in 2014, 2015. It was being mentioned by Bob Arum, but it never came to fruition. And the reason that it never came to fruition is simple, because Bob Arum stated that he blocked the fight purposely because he didn't want to see Manny Pacquiao, who he considered a friend, to be badly hurt by Terence Crawford. And he didn't want to pay Manny Pacquiao the money he was seeking, which was $20 to $25 million to fight Terence Crawford in a passing of the torch type of fight. Okay, so Manny Pacquiao, he had beat Chris Algieri November of 2014, and he won a unanimous decision. But he dropped Chris Algieri, I believe, like 5 or 6 times in the fight. And the biggest fight to be made was obviously Manny Pacquiao at that time versus legendary, iconic, superstar, Hall of Fame boxer who retired 50-0 in Floyd Money Mayweather, okay? That was the fight that we've been waiting for the better part of 5 years, since about 2010, 2011, since Floyd Mayweather defeated Ricky Hatton and Juan Manuel Marquez. Around that time, we've been anticipating Floyd Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao. But we couldn't get Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather, okay? That's when Bob Arum started, after the Chris Algieri fight, Bob Arum started talking about Manny Pacquiao and Terence Crawford. Now, remember, Manny Pacquiao had been brutally knocked out in 2012 by Juan Manuel Marquez, so the fight between Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao has lost some of his luster. And not to mention, before he was brutally knocked out by Juan Manuel Marquez, he lost a decision to Timothy Bradley, which most people thought he won the fight. But nonetheless, the aura surrounding the fight had lost some of his luster. Then he came back, Manny Pacquiao, that is. He beat Brandon Rios in November of 2013. Then he beat Timothy Bradley in a rematch in 2014. Then he fought Chris Algieri, beat Chris Algieri. And around this time was the time where Terence Crawford, started to make a name for himself. And they both were with Top Rank and Bob Arum. And Bob Arum was looking for opponents to give to Manny Pacquiao under his promotional banner, because they couldn't make the fight with Floyd Mayweather. So after Manny Pacquiao beat Timothy Bradley, Chris Algieri had won a dramatic victory over Ruslan Provodnikov in a Fight of the Year fight. Then Chris Algieri was the man that got the Manny Pacquiao fight. And at this time, Terence Crawford started to be talked about as an opportunity, as a possible fight for Terence Crawford, Manny Pacquiao, okay? Because Terence Crawford started to make a name for himself. Well, then, shockingly, Floyd Mayweather agreed to fight Manny Pacquiao. Okay, so Floyd Mayweather fought him May of 2015. Now, Floyd Mayweather, he won a unanimous decision victory over Manny Pacquiao. So Manny Pacquiao, he fought November of 2014 after the Chris Algieri fight, and then May, that very following fight, May of the next year, he fought Floyd Mayweather. He lost a unanimous decision. Again, after he lost to Floyd Mayweather, May of 2015, they started to talk about what's next for Manny Pacquiao. Okay, who's he going to fight? And Terence Crawford started to become a name once again, a possible opponent. So Manny Pacquiao, he stayed out the ring for a year. Okay, nearly a year. They couldn't come to an agreement. Bob Arum didn't make the fight for Terence Crawford, and Manny Pacquiao, he ended up fighting Timothy Bradley in a trilogy. Okay, now initially he wanted a rematch with Floyd Mayweather. But Floyd Mayweather was unwilling to oblige him. He cited he had a shoulder injury. He's making him excuses why he lost to Floyd Mayweather. He ended up fighting Timothy Bradley in a trilogy match. Okay, and he beat Timothy Bradley unanimous decision April of 2016. He was out the ring for nearly a year. Okay, then again they were looking for an opponent for Manny Pacquiao. Bob Arum was saying that a possible opponent would be Terence Crawford for Manny Pacquiao. Well, guess what? Manny Pacquiao didn't fight Terence Crawford. He ended up fighting Jesse Vargas. Okay, Jesse Vargas got the fight in November of 2016 over Terence Crawford. Okay, so now November 2016, he fights Jesse Vargas. That's Manny Pacquiao. He wins a unanimous decision over Jesse Vargas. Now July of 2016, Terence Crawford, he fights the biggest fight of his career at that time on pay-per-view. Now they're trying to make Terence Crawford a pay-per-view star, and Bob Arum is saying that he's setting up a fight for Terence Crawford and Manny Pacquiao. So Terence Crawford fights Victor Postal in a unification bout on pay-per-view. Okay, now after that fight, Terence Crawford is waiting for the Manny Pacquiao fight. Okay, the Manny Pacquiao fight still not presenting itself. So Terence Crawford, he fights John Molina. Okay, December of that year. Now keep in mind, he was waiting, thinking he was going to get Manny Pacquiao. No, he gets John Molina because now Manny Pacquiao, he moves on. Okay, he fought Jesse Vargas now, Manny Pacquiao that is, and now he beats Jesse Vargas. Now, according to Bob Arum, Manny Pacquiao is now asking for $20 to $25 million to make a fight happen between Manny Pacquiao and Terence Crawford. Okay, and so now Manny Pacquiao is inactive again. He's waiting for an opponent. Okay, so he's sitting around, he's waiting for an opponent, and it's being mentioned that it's going to be Terence Crawford. Okay, so then this is what happens. So listen to this. Listen to what Bob Arum had to say.
Well, I killed the fight. Yeah.
So you wouldn't want that for Manny?
No, because I would know how it would end. I mean, not that I knew it would end in.
So you hear Bob Arum. He says that he blocked the fight for Terence Crawford and Manny Pacquiao because he knows how it would end. Listen.
You wouldn't want that for Manny?
No, because I would know how it would end.
I want Terence Crawford.
Well, I killed the fight. Yeah.
So you hear what Bob Arum had to say. He blocked the fight for Terence Crawford to face off against Manny Pacquiao. Okay, and so now you look at Manny Pacquiao. Now he's sitting out, right? Okay, this is Jesse Vargas. After he fights Jesse Vargas in November of 2016, he sits out. So now he don't come back. Now Manny Pacquiao is asking for too much money, according to Bob Arum, Top Rank, right? Manny Pacquiao is looking for big money. And as Bob Arum stated, he was unwilling to pay Manny Pacquiao big money. Okay, he says that Manny Pacquiao essentially, wasn't the same guy. He's a respectable guy. He's a legend in the sport. But he wasn't worth $20 to $25 million. As you can hear in the same interview, he states that he was just happy he didn't have to pay for Manny Pacquiao to face off against Adrian Broner and Keith Thurman because they paid $20 to $25 million for Manny Pacquiao, and it didn't even do 400,000 pay-per-view buys, so it wasn't a success, and he was just simply happy he didn't have to pay for the fight. Okay, now keep in mind, now Terence Crawford fights John Molina. Okay, now Manny Pacquiao, he fought against Jesse Vargas in November. Terence Crawford fights John Molina. Okay, now Terence Crawford is waiting now to fight Manny Pacquiao. It's not happening because Bob Arum just told you he blocked the fight. So now Manny Pacquiao, he's looking to get out of his contract with Bob Arum. He can't secure the rematch with Floyd Mayweather. He's not getting the money he's looking for. He's looking to get out. So July of 2017, he fights his last fight with Top Rank and ESPN and Bob Arum. And he fights Jeff Horn in Australia, and he loses. A fight that majority of the people thought that Manny Pacquiao won the fight. It was a rough, rugged fight. It was a tough fight, but everybody thought that Manny Pacquiao won that fight. And Teddy Atlas went on his infamous rant at that time as to what the decision was. He wasn't happy with the decision, and Teddy Atlas went on an absolute rant about the decision and the judges. And so now Terence Crawford, he fights Felix Diaz in May of 2017, okay? It's because he's not getting a Pacquiao fight because Bob Arum is saying that at the time he's telling Terence Crawford, Manny Pacquiao is pricing himself out. So he fights Felix Diaz in May of 2017, okay? Now Terence Crawford, he's looking to, secure the Pacquiao fight once again. He's looking to move up in weight and become the mandatory challenger for Manny Pacquiao, okay? Now keep this in mind. He was looking to go up to fight Manny Pacquiao and become the mandatory challenger. So he fights in July, okay, 2017. Also, he fights again. And now this is before Manny Pacquiao loses. He fights Julian Sandango. He becomes undisputed. So now he's looking for, a fight with Manny Pacquiao, okay? He's looking to secure that fight, okay? This is around the same time. So now Manny Pacquiao loses. He's not getting the Pacquiao fight. The plan was for Manny Pacquiao to beat Jeff Horn, then Terence Crawford to move up, petition the WBO, as they have always done. They make you the mandatory immediately if you move up in weight for their belt. So he was going to petition the WBO to be the mandatory for Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao loses to Jeff Horn. They keep the belt in-house. Terence Crawford then goes on to fight Jeff Horn June of 2018, beats Jeff Horn. The rest is history. He's a welterweight, okay? So he's been trying to secure the fight with Manny Pacquiao all this time. He couldn't secure the fight, okay? And so Terence Crawford wasn't happy. So everybody from that point on, Terence Crawford had been seeking to get out of his contract. As Terence Crawford shockingly re-signed with Bob Arum and Top Rank, and many people were surprised that he did so, okay? And once he re-signed, his manager and trainer, Bomac, stated that they had an open book. They had a blank check from Top Rank and ESPN, and they was going to make the biggest fights. But that never came to fruition, okay? Then Terence Crawford had been seeking out this fight. Then another name arose for Terence Crawford, which was Errol Spence, his biggest rivalry, okay, to date. And he, according to Terence Crawford, he stated that after his December 14, 2019 showdown with Igor Kavalauskas, he was promised to get Errol Spence on the back end with a $900,000 signing bonus. That didn't happen, okay? And Terence Crawford was unhappy as that time. That's when Bob Arum, he stated that he lost so much money on Terence Crawford, he could build a mansion from scratch in Beverly Hills, okay? He stated that Terence Crawford was being difficult in signing a contract to fight former IBF welterweight world champion, British superstar boxer Special K. Kell Brook. That eventually happened November 14th. Now, Terence Crawford, he stated that he didn't want to go against the grain because he didn't want to put on a show. So this is a lot of friction that was taking place, and now highly anticipated departure for Terence Crawford has arose, and now he's taking them to court for not making these big fights happen. And so with that said, everybody started to anticipate Terence Crawford possibly signing with the PBC, Premier Boxing Champion, founder and advisor Al Heyman, or possibly signing with Floyd Mayweather and Mayweather Promotions, as Floyd Mayweather is on record saying this.
I've been telling him for the longest, not like I've been trying to take him away from Top Rank. If you just look, I'm saying just look at this. Love Terence Crawford. Right after the fight, I called him to congratulate him. And y'all look at Tank. They're like, look what I was able to do with him.
So Floyd Mayweather is saying that he wants to sign Terence Crawford. Not that he wants to take him from him, but he's saying that he's been saying this for a while, that he wanted to bring Terence Crawford over. He could make Terence Crawford a bigger star than what he is. He should be a much bigger star. Listen.
I didn't do it by myself. Look what we were able to do together, I should say.
So he's saying, look how built up Gervonta Tank Davis into the pay-per-view star he is. I didn't do it by myself, but we did it together. I could do this for Terence Crawford, essentially, is where he's getting at.
You know what I'm saying? With them, with the help of them and his team, we work together. So I think the Staples Center, what, is 18,000?
So he's talking about what he's doing for Gervonta Tank Davis, right? So Floyd Mayweather is essentially, saying that, look how I built up Gervonta Tank Davis. I have an example, so I could build up Terence Bud Crawford to this level as well. He should have been a much bigger star. Well, Terence Crawford has been bombarded on his social media with this question, and people started saying that Terence Crawford is going to sign with PBC or possibly Floyd Mayweather, as Floyd Mayweather is looking to sign him. And Terence Crawford essentially is saying that's not true, and he has no interest. And then Terence Crawford is saying, don't believe everything you hear on social media, okay? Now, what's ironic is, at this current time, Terence Crawford is not getting any backing, okay? Terence Crawford is not getting the backing from his peers. Timothy Bradley is saying that he don't know where Terence Crawford is coming from because he never experienced what Terence Crawford is claiming that took place at Top Rank. You got George Foreman, an icon, a Hall of Fame, a legend in the sport of boxing. He's saying it is what Terence Crawford is saying is not true. You have Rashida Ali, the daughter of the late, great, legendary, iconic Hall of Fame Muhammad Ali. Okay, she's coming out and saying that what Terence Crawford is saying is not true. And then you have nobody coming to the aid of Terence Crawford and standing with Terence Crawford and saying, listen, Terence Crawford, what he's doing is great. Good for him. Hopefully he wins. You hear nobody saying nothing, but you hear Floyd Mayweather congratulating Terence Crawford and saying he's backing Terence Crawford. And people are saying that's because he have a vested interest in Terence Crawford. He wants to sign Terence Crawford. You have your Danish Ugas, who's the WBA welterweight champion, saying he stands behind Terence Crawford. But that's it, okay? You had Errol Spence. He came out for numerous of times saying that Bob Arum was doing Terence Crawford a disservice and his career a disservice. But yet Terence Crawford, he still allowed the finger to be pointed at Errol Spence for the fight not being made, although Terence Crawford knew in his contract that he had an agreement for Bob Arum Top Rank to pursue a fight with Errol Spence, and they didn't do so, okay? So Terence Crawford doesn't have many allies going on, it seems, and Terence Crawford would need, at this point in time, a machine like Floyd Mayweather behind him, because Bob Arum's reach is very long. And Bob Arum is saying that he believes Terence Crawford at this current time is looking just to squeeze money out of him. So Bob Arum is not happy Terence Crawford is suing him for $10 million. So because of that, Terence Crawford has a lot of relationships that are going to be strained, okay? You even have Shakur Stevenson saying stuff like, I don't care what everybody else is going through and focus on myself, as he should be, okay? But Terence Crawford is a mentor and a big brother to him. And Terence Crawford clearly, Shakur Stevenson would know what's going on behind the scenes with Terence Crawford, okay? So he doesn't seem to have many allies or people standing with him on this situation. And so I would think that Terence Crawford, initially, I personally thought that Terence Crawford should stay a promotional network free agent and just be able to shop his services because he's 34 and he needs to make the biggest fights happen right now. He's on record saying he don't want to fight until his late 30s or early 40s. So he's already 34 going on 35. But by the time he steps in the ring, he could be already 35 years of age. He turns 35 in September. Okay, time is ticking. We're already going into the springtime and he has nothing set for the foreseeable future other than the reports that he could possibly face Keith Thurman should Keith Thurman win his fight February 5th in July. Okay, so outside of that, Terence Crawford will have one fight before he's 35 or a fight by the time he's 35. So you would think that he would need a machine or an engine as big as Floyd Mayweather that has the reach and the power to be able to offset what Bob Arum is going to do, because we know Bob Arum is going to make it tough for Terence Crawford moving forward, okay? So he would need Mayweather Promotions or PBC to stage the fights and get or at least have a partnership with them like Devin Haney has DHP, Devin Haney Promotions, and he partners with Eddie Hearn, Matchroom, and DAZN. Eddie Hearn's already on record saying he has no interest in dealing with and working with Terence Crawford because he has no fighters in the junior welterweight, or junior middleweight that could fight Terence Crawford. So he has no interest in signing Terence Crawford. Top Rank, we know that relationship is all the way estranged. And we know that the only ally he would have is the PBC. Floyd Mayweather is very interested. So you would think that would make sense for him to sign with the PBC and make that fight happen. So Terence Crawford essentially is saying that it's not true. Now, we know that there's reports that Terence Crawford could be signing and working with MTK Global as an advisory team to him. So let's see how this plays out. But they don't have the connections and a relationship here in the States to make the fights that he needs. Terence Crawford signs with Mayweather Promotions. The fights that he needs is the Keith Thurman, who's with the PBC, Errol Spence, who's with the PBC. Those are the two fights he needs right now, okay? And then he could focus on a Josh Taylor in the future. Should he be victorious in those two mega fights? He would have gotten the Sean Porter fight, the Keith Thurman fight, and the Errol Spence fight. Those are the fights he's looking for. Signed with Mayweather Promotions, you don't have to worry about anything behind the scenes taking place because those fighters are under contract on the same side of the street, and they're easy to make. So let's see how this unfolds and plays out. Terence Crawford has made bad business decisions in the past. Let's see if he makes another mistake not signing with Floyd Mayweather and Mayweather Promotion at this current time. But that's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon, and get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Row. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.
Bumgarner, you're watching Blue Blood Sports TV. Wow.